Hi everyone, welcome to episode 24 of the Arieknits podcast. My name is Ariel and this is a video podcast where I talk about all things knitting and yarn and sometimes crochet projects and sometimes sewing projects and maybe in the future any kind of more crafting, any kind of crafting that I might do that's besides knitting, crochet, or sewing. But it is mostly knitting and lots of yarn. So I am really happy to be filming today. I feel like I say that all the time, but I'm always really happy when I film. But I did miss last week of filming because I got sick last weekend and that was not fun. It was very unexpected, as maybe, I guess, when you get sick, you know, you're not expecting to get sick. But yeah, last week, Friday, I woke up in the morning and I just did not feel great. I knew something was kind of wrong, and I usually go ice skating in the mornings before work on most weekdays, and so Friday is one of those days, and so I woke up really early, which is just what I normally do, and yeah, I didn't feel so good, so I was like, okay, I should probably just skip skating for the morning, and then I was just out the whole day. Like, I did not feel good, didn't feel great at all during the weekend, and then I had just needed a couple more days to like recover from that. I think I got like maybe a stomach flu, I'm not sure, but the stomach was not happy last weekend and the beginning of this week. So anyway, I'm glad that that's all over now and I'm feeling much better. And also what was really sad was that sometimes when I'm sick, or when I do get sick, if it's like a cold or something, you know, I'm not feeling great, but I at least feel well enough to knit, and so that's always kind of like, it's fine with me, take off work and knit even though I'm sick. But this time I really felt so unwell that I couldn't knit. I did not want to knit at all. So this past weekend got like no knitting done, which is fine, you know, you need to rest. I needed to rest, needed to recover, and so feeling good, feeling happy to be back, and so there is now 2 weeks worth of kind of stuff that I've been working on that I can share with you today. So that is what we are going to be doing. I think that there's kind of a lot of things that I'm going to talk about in today's video, but I'm feeling really good about my knitting lately. Like, I don't know if it's because of the break I had when I was sick of not knitting, that I'm feeling extra motivated and like there's like a new surge of energy, of excitement for my knitting projects. So yeah, I don't know, I'm just feeling kind of pretty good about my knitting. It could also be because the sun has been kind of actually out lately, and there has been some days where it's been warm outside, which feels really nice, and it's one of those things where I don't realize that I miss the sun until I see the sun. So now that the sun has kind of been out for some days recently, it's just kind of felt really nice. But also makes me a little nervous about, there's a lot of sweaters that I want to make, and I'm hoping that when I'm done making them, it'll still be cool enough for me to wear them before just like finishing it and then not being able to wear it because it's too hot. But anyway, let's get started with what I am wearing today, because it is the first time I'm wearing this, and it's also the first time you're seeing anything of this, because I started this after the last podcast video, and it's been like 2 weeks, and so I actually finished it. It is blocked, and now I'm wearing it, and I'm really, really happy with it. It came out exactly the way that I wanted it to, which I was really nervous it was going to turn out. You know, I just never know. But anyway, it turned out great. I'm really happy with it, and I'm wearing it today. So let me, actually, before I stand up, because I realize, is it weird, like when I stand up and I'm talking about it, that you can't see my face talking? I don't know, but okay. So before I stand up and show you, this is the Chantilly Vest. It is a pattern by Laura Penrose of Penrose Knits, and the yarn I used is Sewrella yarn in the classic sock base and the Suri lace base held together. And yeah, so the way that it's kind of worked is like the body of this vest is worked 2 strands of the sock base, or like the fingering weight, plus 1 strand of Suri is what I did for the body, and it's also what the pattern recommends. And then the what are these called, like the collar panels, is just 1 strand of the fingering plus 1 strand of the Suri, and then the ruffles on the edge is just 1 strand of the Suri. So that is how this vest was made. And the colorway for the yarn I used is Edith, which is from the Downton Abbey collection, which Sewrella brought back, was it last month or 2 months ago? The whole year, this year, Sewrella is bringing back past, like, previous collections, like, in full, and maybe even, like, supplementing from older ones. So she brought back the Downton Abbey collection, and yeah, so this is the Edith colorway from that. So I will stand up now and show you what it looks like. It is so cute. There's a nice, ribbed hem here. I really like the length. That just kind of ended up how I made it. And some rib around the armholes. And look how, this is what really got me, was just the neck collar panel with the ruffle. I love a good ruffle. I'm really happy with how this came out. I think the fit is really nice. And so what I ended up doing, I'll sit back down for this. What I ended up doing is making the size 2, which is, it is the size that would give me positive ease on this garment. If I went with size 1, it would be negative ease, and I would picture myself like wearing this layered, like how I am right now with a shirt under. So I wanted to make sure that there was enough room, and I generally like positive ease in my garments, and so I went with size 2. And for final measurements on this, I got 33.5 inches of circumference, and so that gives me 2.5 inches of positive ease, but that doesn't count in like with the long sleeve I'm wearing, so it might even be a little less positive ease because I am wearing a shirt under this, but I still think it looks nice. I really like how it fits. Like, I think it fits exactly the way that I wanted it to. And yeah, honestly, I feel like this might be my second vest that I've ever knitted. I'm trying to think. Or I don't really knit vests because I don't ever wear vests. I've never bought really a vest to wear because I just don't know how to wear them. So anyway, why did I start saying that? I think it's because I don't know how to style them, but I think that this is pretty cute. I think I've seen, when I was looking through like Instagram pictures of other people's Chantilly vests, I was trying to see how people wore them, and I think, yeah, just a plain long sleeve with a vest over is just a really cute way to wear that. And since the weather is warming up a little bit, it is a way that I can still wear knitted things without maybe being too hot. So I'm really loving how this looks. Okay, and then I did make very slight modifications to, how I made this compared to the pattern. So everything, like when I made the body and everything minus the collar panel here, I did 2 pattern and 2 the measurements. And so the only things that I've changed that I remember, and they were the major changes, well, they're not major changes, but they are changes I was very wanted to do for sure, is for the collar, the length of it, so measured this way. I believe that I worked it half an inch less than what the pattern stated because I didn't want it. My biggest worry about this vest was I did not want the collar panel. I hope that that's like the right terminology for this, but I didn't want this part to be too long. I was really worried about it looking like too overpowering of the vest. I just didn't want it too long. So I did shorten it by 1/2 inch of what the pattern says. And then my other worry was about the ruffle. I did not want the ruffle to be too ruffly. Like, I do like a ruffle, but in this pattern I did not want it to be like really wavy and really long. And so what I ended up doing, and I did not check like the gauge that I got on the ruffle because it is just one strand of the Suri. Also, actually, I think the pattern states, and the pattern uses not Suri but mohair, and they said for the lace to use 2 strands of mohair, but because I was worried about the lace part being too big, I went with 1 strand of Suri, and then I also sized down my needle size for it like dramatically, and so I used US 2 needles to make the ruffle, and then I also shortened the length of the ruffle by 2 rows. So there was like a 2-row repeat of the ruffle, and I just didn't do like the last one. And so I'll just kind of get a closer look up for you here. So yeah, so I made this part a little bit shorter, and then I also made the ruffle part a little bit shorter and used smaller needles so that the ruffle wouldn't be like too dramatic, and it came out exactly the way that I was hoping it would, and so that makes me really happy. I'm always worried about, you know, when you block your final garment, like how that will change things, like, you know, because I shortened it, would it be enough? Would it be too much? You know, because sometimes you would expect, for me, some of my problems is that I expect my knitted things to grow more than they end up actually growing after blocking, and so I did kind of worry about this one, but it was fine. I think it looks proportionally good, and yeah, I'm just really happy with it. So that is my finished object and also what I am wearing today. I am really happy with it. Again, so today is the first day that I'm wearing it, and so we're kind of like testing it out on how it feels to wear, and I'm not going outside though, so that will be like a different test on wearing, you know, my knitted things out into the world, since I usually just stay home and work from home. But yeah, we're just wearing this today. I feel really like put together and fancy because of, you know, the ruffle. But I think it's really cute and I'm really happy with it. And that is the Chantilly Vest. I have been wanting to make this for so long, and just, you know, waiting for the right kind of yarn color and combination to come to mind that I would want it in. And so I'm really glad that it's finally here. I think pink was the right choice for this. I will also say that there is a Chantilly cardigan. So obviously this is a vest, so there's no sleeves, but there is a cardigan version where there's sleeves and of course, you know, an opening in the front. And I considered doing the cardigan, but it was something about the vest that I felt like, I don't wear vests, but I felt like I would wear the vest of this version of this pattern more than the cardigan for some reason. But who knows, maybe in the future I'll get the cardigan version as well. But also, I would just get stuck on like what color to make for that cardigan, because I'd want to wear it, but because it has a nice ruffle thing, it would be kind of like fancy, and so I would want it to be a color that would match, I don't know, something maybe a little more formal. But anyway, yes, the Chantilly Vest, that is that. And surprisingly, or maybe not surprisingly, I also have another finished object this week, and I'm almost done weaving in the ends. We're almost there. I just have one more sleeve to weave in the ends, but I'm calling this a finished object because it's pretty much done. Just, again, one more sleeve to weave in the ends, and then I need to block it, and then we're good. So I will probably wear this in, oh my gosh, I was going to say next week's podcast, but I am flying to Hawaii next week, so I won't be able to film next weekend, so we'll have to just wait another 2 weeks. So sorry, it's been like 2 weeks of podcasts lately. But anyway, okay, maybe more on that later. But anyway, finished object. Ooh, it's been a long time coming for this one. This is the Double Date Sweater by Winter's Weather Knits. And it is complete. It is done. And yeah, this is what it looks like. So again, if you haven't heard me talk about this in a previous video, the yarn I used is all Sewrella, and so there's 4 different colorways in here. They are all Sewrella, they are all in the Cashmere DK base, and they're all from, I believe it was called like the Celebration Collection. It was, I think it came out at the end of 2022, and it was a small collection, so I got the main color for this, which is what's used. I mean, it's the main color. It's what's used in the collar here. As you can see, it's this kind of creamy white with speckles of purple and green. And that one is the Napa colorway. And then these are all kind of like wine-inspired color names. And then the 3 different stripe colors here, there is Wine Bottle Green, which is this darker green, The Last Glass, which is this like yellow green, and then the dark purple, which is Somm. And yeah, honestly, when I was making this, I totally forgot that this was pretty much a striped sweater, and so there was going to be a bajillion ends to weave in. So again, I only have one more sleeve of ends to weave in, and then I'll be done. But there is a lot of ends. There's so many ends here. Let me show you what that looks like, because it looks terrifying. Okay, here it is. I mean, okay, maybe it's not terrifying, but it's just a lot of ends to weave in, you know? It's two ends for every colored stripe there is, so it's just kind of a lot, but gotta do it. Actually, you probably don't have to do it, but I like to do it. It's my preferred way of finishing striped objects. I do like them to be all weaved in. I don't necessarily enjoy doing it though. But yeah, so this is the sweater modifications that I made. So I did the size extra small, which is the smallest size, but what I didn't realize was that the body length, so from the hem up to the underarm, to me looked really short, and I don't really like crop sweaters. I was not totally sure. I was like, maybe it'd be okay, but I want to add one more repeat of the stripe. So I added one more stripe, which I think is pretty much, you know, like the main color plus the stripe is how much more I added. I just added one more. And then, but because I did that, I was then worried that I was going to run out of my main color to finish the sweater. And I think I talked about this in the last video, but I was mostly concerned, I was concerned about running out of the main color. But then I had this idea of like, if I do run out of the main color and it's not that much that I run out of, I could just substitute the cuffs on the arms and possibly the neckband to be one of the contrast colors, like one of the stripe colors, because I would have a lot of that left over, enough to, you know, do the cuffs and stuff. So what I ended up doing, because I thought it would be really cute, and I think, yeah, in the comments there were a couple people, I think, that said that that would be really cute to do, contrast colors. So what I did was, for the sleeve cuffs, I ended up doing the dark green color, and I was going to do the dark green color for the cuffs because I think out of the stripe colors, that's my favorite color of them. But it also works out nicely because as far as the stripe color repeat, it was the next color to be repeated anyway, and so it just worked out really nicely. And then I could have also done the same for the neckband, but I had enough yarn to do it in the main color, and I just felt a bit safer about that. So I think it looks fine. I think also because the bottom hem would have been in the main color. You know, it's kind of like the body, neckband, and hem are in the main color, and just the sleeves are now in the green color, and I think I like that. I think I liked how that turned out. Yeah, and I am expecting this to kind of grow a little bit after blocking because it is kind of, I don't know if you can tell, but it is a little, like, I'm expecting it to kind of just stretch a little more lengthwise because of just the stitch pattern is kind of scrunching it up like that, and so I'm expecting it to grow slightly, just more like, maybe not grow, but just like relax a bit more into the stitches. But I will say, this sweater's like huge. Like it is oversized. I knew it was going to be an oversized sweater, but it is quite big. I think width-wise is fine. It is oversized, but that's, you know, fine with me. But the one thing that really kind of caught me off guard maybe is just how large the armhole like sleeve opening is. Like it is huge, and so I am hoping to wear this next time I film so that you can kind of like see how that looks. But it is ginormous. Like it is huge. Also, I think that and this is with me adding an extra kind of stripe to the body, like under the arm, but like it is almost, excuse me, it is almost, it looks like it's like the same, almost the same, what am I trying to say, length. It is like almost the same length as the body. Like the armhole is almost the same length as the body. Like it is huge. So we'll see how it feels being worn, because I don't personally like I don't want to feel like there's a whole bunch of fabric like right under my arm. Like I like having armholes that are bigger so that it doesn't feel like it's, I definitely don't like tight armholes, but this one is huge. So yeah, gotta block it first and try it on, kind of wear it around for a day to see how that goes. But anyway, this is the double date sweater. I'm really glad that it's finished because it was kind of a huge project and just lots of yarn to kind of carry around in my project bag when I wanted to work on this, because there is 4 different colors of yarn to use for this. And so yeah, just kind of happy to be done with this. And it is, because it's DK weight, it is a slightly kind of heavier sweater, and so I'm hoping that the weather will still kind of allow me to wear this for a little bit before it gets too warm. And yeah, I will say I think the colors work really well, and I knew that they would work well together, like all 4 of these, because they were part of the same yarn collection. But I'm still unsure of if it looks like a me type of color combo, since I am, I mean, obviously a more pink type of person, and this is very like darker, you know, green and purple, which purple I like, but this is definitely a dark purple and not like a lavender light pastel purple, and so it's just something very different. So yeah, I'm hoping that it'll grow on me a little bit more, like color-wise, but I think I also, so I don't know what it is, but I don't really like purple and green combinations for some reason. I think they work well, like it looks nice together, but there's something about green and purple that it's not really my style. So I don't know, but I think they all work together well on this sweater. Maybe I'll turn it around so you can see the back. I mean, it's just the same, but you know. Yeah, so double date sweater. Glad that that's done. And that's that, yeah. Still need to weave in those ends for the sleeve. Okay, so I'll put this here. Now onto my list of WIPs or works in progress. I made some good progress on things, and so I am happy to be sharing that with you all here. So I'll first start off with this one. This is my Birch pullover, which is the first pattern that I am making from Andrea Mowry, which again is still crazy to me because she's such a popular designer. But yeah, so this is my Birch pullover as of today. I finally split 4 sleeves, as you can see, and I did work just very, like literal, just like 6 rows or rounds of the body, and then that used up 1 ball of yarn, and so I moved on to sleeves. So I just kind of started the sleeves over here, and that's where I am at. And I'm really liking it so far. It is a very time-consuming knit because of the half fisherman's rib stitch and the tiny, tiny, tiny gauge that this sweater is. But I know that once it's done, it's going to be like the squishiest, most comfortable sweater. At least that is my hopes for this sweater for when it's done. And yeah, the yarn I am using is Woolberry Fiber Co. in the Berry Natural base, which is the non-superwash base by Woolberry in the colorway I Smell Snow. And I also feel like that was the perfect yarn combination for this sweater pattern. I think it looks really, really nice, and I like how it's coming out. I will say that one interesting thing, and something I'm going to change once I get back to the body of this sweater, is that the beginning of round starts just like oddly. It's not even in the center of the front body, but it's kind of off center. And I think it doesn't matter where the beginning of round is when you are using a solid color to make this, but when you're using a variegated yarn, it does create this line of color. It's subtle. Like, I feel like if I didn't mention it, you might not notice it, but once you see it, I just like can't unsee it. There's this line right here, and it's just because of the way that the half fisherman's rib works. Is, one round you're like purling, and the other round you're doing like a rib knit purl. And when you switch, because of the beginning of round, the color doesn't carry to like the front stitches, like it's in the purl stitches. Hope that makes sense. If you've done half fisherman's rib before, you probably know what I'm talking about. So there is a distinct, like there are no color lines that will cross this line. It'll just kind of get cut off. And so you can just kind of like see that visually. Ugh, I can see it. So when I go back to doing the body, I think what I'm going to do is change the beginning round to just be in the back center or something. But other than that, I mean, this is great. I'm not even close to being done with this, but I already have plans to make another one because I just have this feeling that it's going to be a sweater that I really like and really want to wear all the time. So yeah, that is my Birch pullover. Yay! Okay, so that is that. And then I am really on a Andrea Mowry pattern kind of kick right now for some reason. So another thing, I think this is the first time I'm mentioning it on a podcast. When did I cast this on? It must have been after. I casted this on after the last time I filmed. So this is going to be the first time you see this. I am making the Big Cozy Cardi, also a pattern by Andrea Mowry. also when I saw this pattern on Instagram, I knew I wanted to make it, and I was just trying to figure out which yarn combination and color combination I wanted to do. Finally arrived on one, and I think I'm going to really like it. And so what I have right now really kind of just does not look like anything. It's going to be, and it's squished on my needles right now, but it's going to be, the construction for this is very interesting, but just like the Birch pullover, like it's going to be just a lot of knitting. It's going to be huge, and so this might take me a while, but this is what I have so far. I don't know what is like the best way. It's just going to be this huge rectangle. And yeah, they're kind of, the stitches are kind of squished on my needles right now, but this is what I have. And the yarn I am using is Aimee or Aimee yarn, and I have it in, I always like to see what yarn looks like in the skein next to like how it looks in a cake, and also like how it looks knitted up, because I feel like, I don't know, for me it's really hard to tell when something's in the skein to see how it's going to look knitted up. So I do have a skein of it here to show you. Oh, the color looks so pretty in this lighting. Okay, so this is the Merino twist base, so it is a fingering weight base, and it's in the color Jinju, which I think is just like the prettiest. Like, this is a very me type of color, and it is, here's how it looks. Oh, it's kind of all squished up here, but here's how it looks in all wound up. And it's a very like pale pink, mauve, gray kind of color, and I think it'll look really cute just as a huge big cozy cardi. I think it'll look really nice and wearable, and will hopefully, I mean, I'll probably just wear this mostly indoors, so it doesn't matter if it matches what clothes I'm wearing, but I think it would match, since I have a lot of pink clothes and kind of light colored clothes. I think that would, you know, this color would match, I think, a lot of things. So that is like the main color that I'm using for the big cozy cardi. And yeah, I've just got a lot of knitting to go on this. I've decided that this is, because the stitch pattern's like really easy to memorize, that this is going to be my airplane knitting next week for when I'm on the plane. It is, so I'm going back home to Hawaii for just like a half a week, but the plane ride is so long. Like, I don't like riding, I don't like being in airplanes, so yeah, knitting has been such a great, like, I don't know how I used to entertain myself on planes before knitting. Like, I guess I would play like my Switch, but I also didn't get my Switch until like a few years ago also, and I don't know. I just cannot imagine being on a plane and not knitting anymore. Just don't know how that would work, how to pass the time, because it's like 5 to 6 hours plane ride one way. So yeah, I am planning on just bringing this to Hawaii, and so this is going to get a lot of time getting knitted on, I hope. And so I'm hoping to make a lot of progress on this, because I've got a long way to go on this, but this will be a nice, you know, meditative knit, since the stitch pattern again is pretty easy to memorize. It's not too hard, and you just kind of keep going back and forth. So yeah, I am aware that the Big Cozy Cardi pattern calls for using a sport weight yarn for the body, and I am using a fingering weight yarn instead, and it is even like, it might also be like light fingering, honestly, because it is 465 yards per 100 grams, so it is quite of a smaller weight yarn. And I was looking at different or other people's versions of this and the stitch pattern and how it looks, and the knit columns on other people's versions are like straight, and mine's are very wavy. It might be hard to tell in the camera, but they're just very wavy. Like, you don't actually see distinct lines, but I'm hoping that once it blocks out and I pull it a little bit more this way, it'll hopefully straighten up those knit columns. But either way, I think it's gonna be fine, even if it doesn't really do that. But, and again, just like the Birch pullover, I'm not even close to being done. It's going to take a very long time, lots of knitting to finish it, but I already have plans to make another one of those. I also I'm already wanting to make another big cozy Cardi, and I want to make it in a DK weight yarn, maybe. I don't know why I'm doing this to myself. I have so many other things that I want to knit, but yeah, so one thing at a time, get this big cozy Cardi done first, and then I can start thinking about my next one. But this is really exciting, and again, I am bringing it with me on the plane, so we'll just leave all the knitting time for it there. And then I have another fun new cast on. Are these all new cast ons so far, or not? I guess not the Birch pullover. But yeah, the big cozy Cardi was a new cast on from last video. This one is another new cast on. This one got me so excited because it is a test knit that I got accepted into. Also, I don't know why this light, I think the sun moved, so now there's a light kind of over here. So try and sit over here. So I got into the test knit for the Uptown tee by Tori of Tori Knits NYC. And I had a lot of yarn choices in my stash to use for this test knit because I think I would just need like 2 skeins of fingering weight yarn, and I have a lot of 2 skeins of colorways just because I know that it can easily make like a tee. And so when this came up, I was like, oh my gosh, I had all of these different yarns that I was considering using, and then I came up on the idea of using this one, and I think it is the perfect choice. I'm really, really, really happy with this choice of yarn. So let me show you what I have. It is really squished on my needles right now, so you might not be able to really see it, but yeah, it's really squished on my needles, so it kind of looks like nothing. But this is what I have so far for the Uptown tee. I am using Explorer Knits in the Denali sock base in the colorway Extra Sprinkles, which is from the Ice Cream Social collection last year. I was waiting for the perfect pattern to use for this yarn, and I think that this one is it. Like, this will look really cute in this pattern. And so as you can hopefully see, let me make sure this doesn't fall off my needles, but the sleeve stitch pattern for the Uptown tee is this really fun kind of lace. And I think with the speckles, the colorful speckles in the yarn, like, this just makes it look extra fun. It's going to look really cute. You can see kind of how this yarn looks more knitted up here in the back, since there's kind of more knitted up here. I think it's gonna be really cute and super wearable for the summer, or just, you know, whenever you want to wear a really cute tee. So yeah, so this is what I have so far. I'm really happy with the color choice, and so I'm kind of just like, I'm at the point where, like, increasing for the sleeves and the body, and I just want to get to splitting for the sleeves. Like, I want to just, because after doing all of this, it should just be, I think, pretty much straight stockinette stitch for the rest of the body, and that should hopefully fly really quickly. And yeah, I just kind of want to see more of this colorway just knitted up. Like, I just want to, yeah, I just want to see that. It's so pretty. It's so cute. So I'm really happy with my yarn choice for this test knit. I'm also really happy I got into the test knit. I believe it is the first time I am test knitting for Tori, and I've been, as you maybe know if you've watched my previous videos, I absolutely love her beanie patterns. I am obsessed with the Manhattan hat pattern, and so I just think she's a great designer. And this is the first time I am making like a non-hat pattern of hers. I do want to make the hoodie pattern. I think that one's called the Downtown hoodie, pullover hoodie. And so I do want to make that, but I just don't have yarn and stash for it, so I'm kind of just waiting it out until there's something that comes up for me to make it. But yeah, so again, I'm really just looking forward to splitting for sleeves on this, because I just want to see, I want to be able to, like, you know, like just like the Birch pullover, like once you split for sleeves you can kind of just like hold it out and you can get a better sense of like how it'll look, like you can hold it up and see. And so I want to do the same for this tee. I just want to split for sleeves so I can like hold it up and kind of see how it'll look. But yeah, we're almost there. Maybe I'll work on it some more this weekend. But there is a project that's kind of really got my hold this weekend, which, do I talk about that one next? Actually, I'll save it for last. But yeah, so this is my new test knit, my new cast on. And I just, I'm so happy I'm finally like using this yarn for something, because it's so cute. Okay, then next up, this is more of a progress update. This is my Lofi shawl. I got a lot done on this. It is definitely my comfort knit, and I am loving the size that it is right now, because when I work on it, it's pretty much just a blanket for my lap, which I love. And I finally finished skein number 2. So all of this, I don't know how to hold, what's the best way to hold this to show you the whole, yeah, started down here. It is a triangle shawl, and so, oh there, maybe like that. So rows are getting very long, but I've just finished skein number 2, and I'm on my final skein number 3, and we are almost there. And I just, yeah, again, it's my comfort knit. It's really soothing to work on because the stitch pattern is just really easy to memorize. There's a section of just garter stitch, so it's literally just knitting, and then even the kind of like broken rib, garter rib section is like one side is just like all knitting still, and the other side just the pattern stitch repeat is, again, easy to memorize, and also like you can do it without having to think. Almost like you don't have to, you know, count like, oh, you need to like knit 2 and then purl 1. You just kind of like, your hands just kind of, after you do it for a while, it just like, at least for me, it just feels like intuitive, so I can do it without having to think about it. So yeah, just a really great knit, and just showing progress because it's a long one. So I love how it's feeling also. I am using the Woolberry Berry Natural base again for this, and so it just feels, it feels squishy, it feels soft, and it's not itchy, and I just really like it. The colorway is Hello Autumn. I also think it works really well with the stitch pattern so that you can still see the stitch pattern even though there's some color variation in the colorway. Yep. Okay. So sadly, you know, this won't be done when it's really cold outside where I can just kind of bundle up with this all the time, but it'll for sure be ready for the end of this year, or for next, you know, next winter when it's really cold. I'll be able to really kind of bundle up with this, and so I'm excited for that. And then Last but not least for my works in progress is something I haven't talked about for a very long time. It is the Teddy Zip by Joanne from Knitwear by Joanne, and I made some changes to it. So this is what I had, and maybe the last time that you have seen it is kind of very similar to what it looked like. And I don't know why my camera decided to just not focus. Okay, I think it's back. So this is what I had. It is worked bottom up, and if you remember, I've had some struggles with the yarn for this. So it is boucle yarn held with a non-boucle yarn, which is also kind of the yarn used for the ribbing hem on the bottom. And I was just generally unhappy with the color that I got for the non-boucle yarn. And then I was like, I worked on all of this, and I was like, you know what, I think it's fine. I think it's fine. Like, it looks okay. Not what I was expecting or hoping, but it looks fine. And then, was it just yesterday or 2 days ago, I decided to pick it back up again, because since I've finished so many projects lately, I wanted to pick this back up. I just kind of had a boost of like wanting to pick this back up after not working on it for like, I don't know, like a month and a half or something, 2 months. So, sorry, I'm just rearranging it here. So, yeah, these are also the pocket holes if you're wondering what the heck that is. And I worked a few more rows of this, I think it was yesterday. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna try something different, because my hands, oh, that's the other reason why I stopped working on this, was because after I did knit all of this, that's when my hands and my arms were feeling really sore. And I think it was from, at least partly from making this, because the needle size is a lot larger than I'm usually used to knitting with, and also the gauge was kind of tight, and so it was really hard for me to like make the stitches on this. And as soon as I started making, like I think the first row that I knit on this yesterday, I already felt it. I could feel the muscles in my arms like starting to like not cramp, but I could tell that like, oh, if I continue with this, it's gonna hurt again. So then I was like, okay, I'm already not like the most happy about how this is coming out. Like, it's fine. It is fine, but sometimes I feel like if I'm not 100% happy with how something's turning out, and especially on top of it hurting my hands, I was like, I should probably rip this out. I think I should frog it. So, I am going to frog this, but what I ended up doing was I did a little gauge swatch of just the boucle yarn. Since my biggest kind of disappointment with this was that it wasn't as fuzzy as I was hoping that it would be or wanting it to be. So I did a gauge swatch so 2 strands of boucle, but minus the non-boucle yarn. So I did a gauge swatch, and really liked how it looked. Of course, the thickness and kind of stiffness of the material is not as thick as this is, but I was like, I think I would rather have. I was also worried once I started this that the jacket would just be too heavy, like too big. Like, I don't know if I'd ever be cold enough to be wearing this. So anyway, did a gauge swatch. It turned out fine with the 2 strands of boucle as far as like stitch gauge wise. And I think it'll end up in a lighter jacket fabric. And so I just went with it. So I recasted this on yesterday and worked on it all last night, worked on it all this morning. And I am now even farther on it than what I had previously, because it is also now, because the gauge is, it's the right size gauge, like stitch wise, but because the fabric is lighter, the stitches are slightly looser on the needles, and so it does not hurt my wrists and my arms to work the stitches, and so I'm able to work on this with less pain. It is faster to work on too, so less frustrating, and I think it shows, because I got a lot more of this done in 2 days. So I'm trying to figure out what is the best. I'm in a really weird kind of situation on this. So this is what I have so far. Like, I finished the back already, and so now I'm just working on one of the fronts, the right front. As you can maybe see here, the pocket holes are down here. And yeah, so this is what it looks like with just the 2 strands of boucle held together. So again, it is a much lighter fabric, but I think that in the end, that's I think what I was wanting anyway. And yarn-wise, because the original version I was making already had 2 strands of boucle held together, like, I'm gonna be fine on the amount of yarn. It's not like I'm gonna run out of yarn making it in this version. The only thing is I'll just have the non-boucle yarn. I'm just gonna have like a sweater quantities worth of it, but that's fine because I can just use it for something else in the future. But yeah, so this is what I have. Should I just show the back? I can't believe how much knitting on this I got done. It is a large gauge, like I think it is 11 by 16 stitches, and I was able to get that with the 2 strands of boucle. So that is a plus, and also something to note for in the future. And what else? Oh, the pattern does call for using a different yarn for the bottom ribbing, and also eventually the same for like the cuffs and the opening for the pockets. But because I was like, I don't want to use this yarn for this version, there's something about this yarn that looks purple to me, even though it's not purple, and I just don't. On camera, this looks purple, right? Like, in person, that's what it looks like. But it's supposed to be like a gray bone color. In some lights, I don't know, but to me it looks purple, and next to this, it looks purple. I just don't like the color combination. So I was trying to figure out, I was looking through my stash if there was just anything, any yarn that I could use just for the ribbing and stuff for this jacket. And I had some, but I was just like, I don't think it's enough to do the bottom ribbing. So what I ended up doing is just using 1 strand of the boucle yarn for the ribbing, and the gauge for that was very off. I was too lazy to gauge swatch for it, but it's fine. We're just gonna go with it. I'm not gonna redo it. I think it'll be fine. So I'm just trying to position this here so I can show you kind of like what's happened with it. So yeah, you can tell that it's too wide. It looks a little ruffly, the ribbing, just because the gauge for the ribbing, even though it's only 1 strand versus the rest of the body is 2 strands, this is 1 strand. And I also use like a needle size 2 sizes smaller than the body, but ribbing in boucle just doesn't really cinch together. Does that make sense? Like, ribbing is supposed to kind of like be tight, or not tight, but it's supposed to kind of like cinch together just because of the nature of the rib stitch. Oh my gosh, this light is just, I hope that it's not bothering you guys. So But anyway, I think in the boucle yarn, it just doesn't do that just because boucle is so fluffy. So it's wider than the intended rib at the bottom. So it's going to look a little ruffly and wide, but I'm okay with that. I'd rather have that than a color of non-boucle yarn that doesn't really match the rest of the body of the jacket. So we're gonna go with it, and I think it's gonna work out fine. So again, let me show you what I have kind of so far. I think it'll be fine. This texture is way more of what I was hoping to get from this jacket, and so I am just really zooming in, just going all in and knitting on this. I think I might be able to get to the sleeves this weekend. So we're pushing forward real fast with this one because I'm finally like enjoying it, which I think is kind of the whole, not the whole point of knitting, but you know, like I knit because I enjoy it. And so I realized with the other version I had, like I kept being like, is it okay? Do I like it? And I was like, the answer is no. It's just not what I was wanting. So the right answer is to just frog that. And thankfully, I came up with this solution of just using the boucle yarn, and for it to be turning out a lot more like what I was wanting it to be in the first place. It's really great, and I'm really happy with it. And I think this is reminding me, you know, that if there's something that I'm knitting that even if I had like, you know, my heart set on it, if it's not turning out the way I wanted it to, I shouldn't waste my time on making it if I'm not going to be happy with it in the end. So yeah, it's been a good reminder, and also I'm just like, I've been working on this literally, it was all night yesterday and all morning. It was the only thing I worked on today so far, and I'm gonna continue working on it for, I'm pretty sure, this whole weekend. So yeah, finally getting a boucle jacket. And yeah, I think I forgot to mention what the yarn is that I'm using for this, because even though I've mentioned it in a previous one, it's been so long since I have worked on it. So anyway, before I forget, the yarn that I am using for this is from Sewrella. It is the boucle base, which was just for the winter tonals, was when she offered the boucle base, and so unfortunately it's not available anymore, but it should be coming back for this winter. And I am using the Sugar Mountain colorway for it, which this is also a very me type of color, like a pinky purple mauve type of color. Yeah, so I want to finish this so that I can wear it before it gets too warm outside. I think I'll be able to finish this quite fast because, again, it's, you know, it's a very large gauge knit, and so the stitches work up pretty quickly. So yeah. Okay, so that is my last work in progress to share with you today, and I do want to share a couple of acquisitions and plans that I have for the future, because they are, one of them I'm like super, it got in my head to make this and I just can't stop thinking about it. So I'm gonna share that one first because it has been on my mind for like a week and I think it's finally gonna happen. So if you have watched my previous video, you'll know that I went to the Explore Knits pop-up at La Mercerie on Bainbridge Island a few weeks ago. Has it been a few weeks already? And I got the mini set of the Seattle tonals, which you can see here. So there's 6 different colors and they're so cute, and I mean, I had to buy the minis to prevent me from buying sweater quantities of every single tonal colorway. But then I was like, okay, I do like to buy yarn with a project in mind for them. Even if it changes later on in the future, I do like to have projects like patterns to go with the yarn, just so it makes me feel a bit better about it. But for the minis, I was like, ooh, I don't know what I want to do with these. I would ideally like to use them in one project since they're all kind of part of a collection. Then I think it is the best idea I've had for a project, for a knitting project, like yarn combination and pattern combination. So I am, as soon as I get the rest of the yarn, so I am planning on making the Sewrella cardigan by Andrea Mowry, which, if you know, it is also in half fisherman's rib, just like the Birch pullover, but it's a cardigan, and it's striped. And the original sample for the Sewrella cardigan was knit in the ampersand fibers yarn, which is La Mercerie's yarn. And I was like, wouldn't it be the perfect combination? Because Explore Knits had her pop-up at La Mercerie. And this is the Seattle collection that she had there. If I paired it, so like these are the stripes for the cardigan, and then for the main color, I used an ampersand fibers yarn. It would be like the pop-up all in one cardigan. I think that's like such a great idea. Like, I was so happy when I came up with that idea. So that is my plan for these. I am going to make the Sewrella. Is that how you say it? I'm going to make the Sewrella cardigan. And I think these colors will make perfect stripes for them. And yeah, I have bought the main color yarn, the ampersand fibers yarn for it, and it's supposed to come into the mail today. And so I was kind of hoping that it would be in the mail right before I film so I can actually like show you it all together, but it'll probably come as soon as I'm done filming this. Like literally probably as soon as I'm done and I press, stop record on this, it'll show up in the mail. But I can't wait. I'm gonna swatch it as soon as I get the yarn, I think. Or at least this weekend I will swatch because I want to see it kind of worked up. So that is the plan. I am so proud of this plan. I think it's going to be really great and kind of the perfect way to have that whole experience kind of in a cardigan. So yeah, so that is my future plan number 1. And then for acquisitions, I did get my Woolberry order from the, what is it called? So Woolberry this whole year, each month is doing it's called the Rewind collection. So I believe it was February's color was Sandcastle, and I already last year bought so much Sandcastle in different bases, but I did want to get one more. So I got Sandcastle in the Berry DK base. I believe I got like 3 skeins of this, and I am planning on making the Accurate Vest by Charissa, cl.knits on Instagram. And I think that'll look really cute. I think vests are also going to be like a new thing that I make more of this year, because it is a great way to, well, for me, I think they're a really cute like layering piece, but it'll also be a nice way to buy yarn and make something with yarn without buying like a full sweater quantity worth of yarn. And there are very cute vest patterns out there. So yeah, so I have a future vest in my future to make with this yarn. So yeah, so that is my second kind of like probably soon to be plan. And I think that is it. Looking around to make sure I didn't miss any other projects of yarn. But that is it for today's video. I Hope you enjoyed it. I hope that you are having a great day. I forgot to mention at the beginning, today is Saturday, March 25th. It is already the end of March. Oh, daylight savings already like happened, and that was kind of I did get sick after that. I kind of feel like the timing and my sleep schedule got a little weird. I don't know why that happened to me this year, because the past couple years I've been able to adjust normally and almost not realize that the time like changed. But more sun is always nice, and yeah. So anyway, I hope you are all having a great day on whichever day you are watching this, and let me know in the comments down below what you are currently working on, because I love to hear what projects, like what pattern, what yarn you're using, and any, just sharing projects I think is always really fun. And I am hoping to eventually kind of, one thing I wanted to do, I was planning on doing it last week, but then I got sick, so I didn't do it for the video, and I totally forgot for this video, but I do want to share my project plans for my pre-order yarns that I ordered a couple weeks ago. I think it was the Explorer-Knits yarn, the National Parks collection, and the Coast to Coast yarn, the like favorites collection. And because a lot of yarn got purchased, but I do like having plans for all of the yarn that I buy. So yeah, I thought it would be fun to share it with you all, because I feel like project planning and sharing is always kind of fun to share and also get some new ideas for. So hopefully that'll be sometime in the future as well. As I've mentioned before, next week there probably won't be a video, because it's actually like my flight back from Hawaii is on Saturday, and so it's just going to be, I'm coming back really late at night, and then I'm going to have to take the Sunday to just kind of like unpack and just kind of like relax from the whole traveling and everything. So no video next week, but I promise to be back the week after, unless, I don't know, like I get sick again or something, but I'll be back. I'll probably get lots of knitting done, so we'll get to show you some progress on my current works in progress. And oh my gosh, I really want to cast on the Sewrella cardigan. Like, I think that'll be my next cast on, because it's just my favorite idea, my most favorite idea for a knitting project that I've had in a very long time. So anyway, since I won't be filming for, it'll be another 2 weeks before I film, if you would like to, then you can follow me on Instagram. I do try and post a little more on there. My Instagram is @arieknits. It is the same name as this podcast. Also, feel free to subscribe to this channel if you haven't already, so that you can hopefully get notified on when I do post my videos. I do try and record on Saturdays and post on Sundays, so that's kind of been my general schedule. But yeah, if you subscribe, then you'll get to kind of just know right away when I post, and I do really appreciate it. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that you are knitting on something fun or crocheting on something fun. Make sure to rest your hands once in a while and do some stretching, so that you can keep your hands and your wrists and your arms free and happy to be crafting for a very long time. And with that, I will see you in my next video. Bye!